Got the body together. We'll start the meeting. Will everyone stand and give the pledge of allegiance to the flag, followed by the invocation. Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will you bow with me, please? Dear gracious and heavenly Father, we thank you for the people who serve in our armed forces, who put their lives in harm's way to protect the freedoms that we all enjoy. Dear Lord, we ask that you give your grace and mercy to us and your guidance as we make important decisions that affect all the citizens of Prattville. In Christ's name I pray. Amen. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Councillor Striplin. Here. Councillor Wood. Here. Councillor Brown. Here. Councillor Miller. Here. Councillor Riniger.
Here.
Councillor Bowles. Here. Councillor Fank. Here.
Roll being called. We'll call this meeting to order. 6:02 p.m., Tuesday, March the 20th, 2012. The character trait of the month is compassion, investing whatever is necessary to heal the hurts of others. Fellow councilors, by now you have received copies of the minutes of the City Council meeting in March 6, 2012. At this time, the Chair will entertain a motion to approve these minutes. Do I hear a motion? So moved. Moved by Councilor Fank. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Miller. Is there any adjustments, amendments to these minutes? All those in favor of approving the minutes signify by raising your right hand. Any opposition by like sign? The minutes are approved. This time we will entertain any comments from the audience on agenda items only. Is there anyone that would like to address the council on any agenda item this evening? Ms. Gray. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Allison Gray. I live at 1698 Old Country Road. It's been a while. I've missed y'all. I thought I was going to get by without saying anything tonight, but I'm really, really proud to see all these veterans. That's great. And I'm proud of Prattville for recognizing them for their service. I didn't have any idea what was on the agenda tonight, but Resolution 5, I assume that's for a mayoral picture of Jim Byard. Is that
Actually,
correct?
that would include the price of two portraits, one for former Mayor Byard and one for Mayor Gillespie.
Okay. As you all know, I'm a big Jim Byard supporter. I love Jim Byard. I love Mayor Gillespie. But I don't think this is a good time to spend $1,000 on portraits when we have city employees that are laid off or not getting raises or having to take pay cuts. And $1,000 doesn't seem like a lot to some people, but to some of those families whose income has been cut, that's a lot. So I would just like to see you not do that right now. Maybe wait on it. I don't have a problem with it being done. I just don't think this is a good time to do it. And that's all. Thanks.
Any questions or comments from Ms. Gray? Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Mr. Brandt, you had your hand up. Good evening, sir.
Marty Brand, 258 Terry Lane. Ordinance number 1 on the agenda to request pre-clearance of voting machine changes from the Department of Justice for the 2012 municipal election. What changes are we talking about?
Mayor, would you like to address that? you're most knowledgeable about that one.
I'm going to apologize. I was being asked a question at the same time he was talking, so if you could repeat
Ordinance
that, please.
number 1, it talked about changes to the voting machines. So what changes are we talking about?
Actually, I'm meeting with the county as soon as possible to go over all those details with them. And I'm going to have to say that I am a little behind the curve on that one. This is going to be my first rodeo on that. But anyway, I will have more information on that in the very near future.
The county actually purchased or acquired new voting machines that we used in the primary. And so this is an ordinance allowing us to make the move to those new machines, because we will, in effect, be leasing those machines for the municipal elections.
Okay, so the voting machines that they're under consideration will be new machines. They'll do basically the same thing, but they're updated machines.
Yes, sir. The new style of machines that the county has.
Okay. Is there going to be any ordinances, resolutions, whatever, that are brought up tonight for the council that are not on the agenda? I've heard sometimes things brought up at the end. So is anybody planning to bring one up tonight at the end of the meeting?
Would any of the council members like to address that?
Yes, sir. I plan to bring an ordinance to surplus some city property.
Surplus some city property? That means put it up for sale type stuff?
It's actually to be used for the bike trails. It's property that's not currently being used, and the surplus of that property, then we would receive property of a greater value that would allow them to access those trails.
Okay.
Right now, we can't get to them.
Oh, okay. Okay. Let me see here. In the resolution number 5 to amend the budget for the mayoral portraits, that
Yes.
wasn't under consideration back when they were doing the budget? That was something that's been thought of since then?
It's been followed up since then. We actually have a law on the books that allows for that, but it wasn't budgeted for in the budget we approved. Now we're coming back to amend that budget by this ordinance.
So we're talking about 2 photographs or a collection of photographs of 2 different people?
2 portraits.
Okay. That's all I have.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Anyone else like to address the council on any agenda item this evening? Okay. Mayor, do you have a report?
Yes, sir, I do. And if you'll indulge me one more time for our veterans as they step forward.
By all means, you have the floor, sir.
And again, I also want to thank not only them, but also their families, because their families have been through quite a bit also, and it's just an honor for me to stand up here with them and read this commendation to them and recognize them for the duties that they have provided for us and the sacrifices that they have endured, and so that we are able to, especially myself, to sleep at home in my bed that I cherish so much. And I know I can only imagine the hardships that you guys have been through, but and then also your families, your loved ones who did not have you beside them during their day-to-day lives here in the States or on the Air Force bases. But with that said, I'd like to go ahead and read this, and then if you'll come forward as I do. Whereas our nation has fought and continues to fight battles around the world, let us solemnly remember the sacrifices of all those who have fought on the seas, in the air, and on the foreign shores to preserve our heritage of freedom. And let us consecrate ourselves to the task of promoting and enduring peace, so their efforts shall not have been in vain. whereas we have benefited from the contribution of those willing to depart the comforts of home to answer the call of duty, and our citizens celebrate the service and sacrifice of these servicemen and women as we pay special tribute to these citizens. Whereas the freedoms we enjoy as Americans have been purchased and maintained at a high price through our history, whereas we owe a great debt of gratitude to those who have served in defense of this nation, whereas the people and the mayor of Prattville wish that the sacrifice of so many in Afghanistan never be forgotten. Now, therefore, I, Bill Gillespie, Jr., Mayor of the City of Prattville, Alabama, do hereby commend Major Griffin for her sacrifice and deployment to Afghanistan for the 455th Air Expedition Wing, supporting U.S. Geology Survey and Naval Research. Rebecca is a living testimony to remind us of what is important, what it means to be a hero. Please step forward. I do hereby commend Major Townsend for his sacrifice of multiple tours in the Middle East to include a 2 deployments to Afghanistan, supporting Operation Enduring Freedom and supervising network systems. Jeremy is a living testimony to remind us what is important and what it means to be a hero. Please step forward. I do hereby commend First Lieutenant Carl Wiest for his sacrifice and deployment to Afghanistan with the 82nd Airborne Division as a liaison with the international media and as a public affairs officer with the FAR PRT. Carl is a living testimony to remind us what is important, what it means to be a hero. Please step forward. Do hereby commend Master Sergeant Lucas for her sacrifice of multiple tours in the Middle East to include a deployment to Afghanistan, administering in the disbursement of monetary support to U.S. and coalition forces. Linda is a living testimony to remind us what is important and what it means to be a hero. Please step forward. Do hereby commend Master Sergeant Rupapan for his sacrifice of a deployment tour to Afghanistan with the 455th Expedition Mission Support Group, supporting military member needs as well as assisting in humanitarian aid and also petitioning for private donations to secure safety equipment for Afghanistan soldiers. William is a living testimony to remind us what is important and what it means to be a hero. Please step forward. I also commend Master Sergeant Shepard for her sacrifice of multiple tours in the Middle East to include a deployment to Afghanistan, working administratively with all 4 branches of the military's command support staff. Crystal is a living testimony to remind us what is important and what it means to be a hero. Please step forward. You gonna get a group shot now?
Let's give these folks a standing ovation, shall we?
And while they're doing this, I also want to reaffirm what the families have been through and how much I do truly appreciate them, because without them, I'm certain our forces over there would not have wanted to be there in the first place. But thank you, one and all. While they're exiting, I'm going to just go ahead and talk a little bit about some of the things that we have going on during the month of April. April seems to be a very busy month. This Thursday night, as everybody sitting up here is aware, we have our Fountain City Arts Festival dinner. It's at the Legend. It's from 6 to 9. I hope everybody can attend. I'm planning on being there. We have a lot of entertainment going on. There's a black tie, so if you don't have a tux or a black nightgown, just bring it and go on from there. But
I thought it was black tie optional.
not for me. It can be for you. You're council president. This weekend, also at Pratt Park, at Pratt Park, we have an arts festival, and hopefully everybody can come out to it. It's from 9 to 5 there. Great event. As I mentioned earlier to some people I was talking with, for somebody who cannot draw a straight line, who is very challenged, and especially when it comes to the arts, I might not be able to make anything that's artsy, but I know what I like, and I know when I see something that's very appealing. So I will be at Pratt Park during that time, so I hope everybody can come out sometime during that time. We also have our North Highland Fun Day, and I'm going to let Mr. Woods talk about that a little bit earlier on as he goes, but I know I'll be there this coming weekend. Like I mentioned earlier, April is a very busy month for that. It's also Autism Awareness Month, and have Ms. DeRue Fank, if she'll come forward. She wants to speak very briefly about her month.
Hi, I'm DeRue Fank, Executive Director of the Family Support Center next door. Just to kind of give you a brief update on what we've done for the last year, I do want to thank the city for our $2,500 allocation. We use that for our utilities, which is greatly appreciated in the times of a budget cut, so we do appreciate that. And this is also our 15th year of being in business, so a lot of people don't know how long we've been around and what we do, so I'm trying to bring public awareness over this 15th year anniversary. And in April, it's Child Abuse Prevention Month, which is one of our largest programs that we do. We try to prevent child abuse and neglect through our parenting classes and fatherhood classes. And we do that with April. Last year we started with, we kicked off the month with Dyeing the Fountain Blue, and actually had Josh Johnson from WSFA came out and did a live spot with us doing that, and for the whole hour he was with us. So that brought a lot of attention and promotion for the month. If anyone ever suspects child abuse or neglect, we encourage you to call your local DHR, which is 358-5000. And anytime you see it in the grocery store and Walmart, please call, because we're the adults. Children don't have a voice, and so we need to speak out for them. Also, April, we're going to dye the fountain this year, April 10th. Did we confirm that?
Well, we're working on that. We've had some difficulties with the fountain right now. So.
Oh, okay. Well, more to come.
More to come.
More information to come. Okay. And also, there will be a state rally. All agencies across the state will be coming down to Montgomery on the State House April the 11th and that's a Wednesday, on the State House at 10 o'clock with blue ribbons and pinwheels to show support and promotion to prevent child abuse and neglect. So just wanted to let you know that, and hope you can all come out, and I'm sure it'll be on TV, and we'll keep you posted more about what we're going to do with, you'll see pinwheels across downtown promoting that too. And thanks so much.
Thank you. I figured I'd let her explain all of her different events there, so it'd be a lot easier and be a little more personal from that perspective there. But thank you. Before our next council meeting, I should be presenting a IT report. We paid to have an analysis done of our IT department, and they're wrapping it up. So I will be providing that information to our finance committee meeting before our next council meeting. Right now, early indicators on it is leading to a possibility of approximately somewhere around $200,000 savings in that department, and which there will have to be some expenditures from that department, do a couple of upgrades. But as we move forward with that report, you'll have it, and that way we can be able to come up with the decisions that are necessary in that department. A couple other items I want to just briefly talk about. One is our Continental Eagle building over here that I'm certain that I say ours, as lifelong residents here, and even though I have no direct ties to the building. It's the good news I want to bring toward Prattville is that the fact that at this point in time has been the contract has been signed for the sale of that building, and they're already petitioned to have some rezoning done for that building, for it to go from the industrial that it is, the business that it is, to residential. And so I look forward to have a lot of grand thoughts of that building being tied in with the city of Prattville, just being able to bring so much more to downtown and the activities that surround downtown with the creek that we have behind us and the creek walk that we have. I just feel like it's going to be a big boost in the arm of the city of Prattville, and I think it's definitely a very good indicator of the direction that the economy is moving in and how important it is to Prattville. And I just feel like that we're going to be hearing a lot of great news and a lot of great movements coming out of that in the very near future. The last thing I want to talk about is that we have, I'm certain anybody had seen where we had a few robberies from one suspect a few weeks ago, and my understanding is now they do have that suspect in custody in Texas, and so we will be bringing that person back to stand for charges for his crimes there. And but I just want to reassure the citizens of Prattville that we're safe as ever. All of the city employees are very dedicated to deliver the product that the city is tasked to deliver, whether it be environmental services, public safety, quality of life programs. That is one area that we've been very, very fortunate that the people that we have, the employees that the city has, the department heads that the city has, it's just we just should be very grateful to them for how diligent they have been to stand beside us through this very difficult times that we've seen over the last year or so. But with all that said, if there's any questions, comments?
Any questions of the mayor at this time? From any member of the council? Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
This time we'll call on Mr. Mosley for a report on the status of our city finances. Good evening, Mr. Mosley. Got some more good news for us?
Absolutely. I always have good news.
Good deal.
Well, at least most of the time, we'll say that. I provided the financial reports for you for the month of February. They should be right in front of you. The first sheet is a breakdown of the revenue departments. You'll see the third line down, business license. Year to date, it is down by 1%. Again, that is not due to reduction in business license revenue. It's just a reduction in us being able to get those in. I think at this point we're up to February the 29th. Anything that was brought in January 29th. Anything that was brought in at that date is being put in right now. So we're behind, but we're putting them in as fast as we can with the reduction in staff that we have. Lodging taxes, you'll see, is down year to date. Obviously, we have one less hotel right now. That kind of attributes to that. Fines and forfeitures, you'll see, are down. That, again, is kind of due to our department. One large section of that is fines from municipal court. When those are turned in, a lot of times they come in and a check from JCS, that's Judicial Correction Services, right? And when those come in, the municipal court department has to actually take all the cases that make up that and divide it up into all the different general ledger accounts that those have to go into. Well, rather than a check sit over there in municipal court for months until they can actually have time to come up with those figures, they come to our department and they're deposited into the general fund and put in an account. It's suspense account. So that way it can be sitting in the general fund account. That way the check doesn't get lost or anything. And part of the reason that account is down is just the simple fact that we hadn't had time to actually do the journal entry to disperse those funds into the proper general ledger accounts. I know that was a very long explanation, but it's an explanation nonetheless. And you'll also see that grants are down a little bit. That is primarily due to a lack of those grants that are in the hopper. We do have several that are coming up that we're going to start using, so we'll start seeing some of those increase. That's pretty much all there is on the revenue. Most everything is running right in line with where we are in the year. You'll also see behind that a tax breakdown comparison, which breaks down the different taxes that are in the tax number that is provided at that was provided at the beginning of the month, how each one of those particular items have fared during the month of February. The next set of sheets is the expenditures. Everything's actually looking really good on the expenditure side. Most every department is lower than prior year and right in line with where we are our progress through the year. So that's a very good thing. One thing of note in the expenditures, operationally, which I'm excluding the debt service. We have spent $663,000 less this year than last year, which is a very good sign. Also, one thing of note in the debt service, we actually did pay the $1 million line of credit down in the month of February. That is still completely paid off. We haven't touched it, so it's still there for us to use if the need arises. Provided a sanitation and wastewater income statement for you. That's broken down by month: October, November, December, January, and February. You'll see the sanitation department is still running in the red just a little bit. They should fall out into the black probably in the month of March, which is a very good thing. And as you'll see, the wastewater department is running in the black already. Another thing of note, on the group health fund, we still are owing the group health fund about $1 million, and that's through the month of March. At the end of February, that number was $800,000. So, let's see. All accounts payable are within 30 days. There's not a single invoice for the month of February that we have. All community initiatives that we've received a request for funding from, all those have been paid out. Another thing, I actually just talked to Mr. Councilor Reniger before the meeting, and we signed the paperwork to open up the debt service reserve account. I'll be taking the paperwork over there tomorrow to do that, along with a check for $1 million to open that account, which, as you know, will cover the next big round of debt service payments that are going to be in May. And that's all I have.
Any questions for Mr. Mosley? Councilor Strickland.
Good report. Any update on when the audit will be available?
Yes, I actually spoke with them yesterday and today. Most everything has been provided to them. We're kind of hashing out the smaller details. We should have everything done by the end of March, just for the simple fact that to submit the financial statements for the GFOA award, it has to be in by the end of March, and they've assured me that that should not be a problem. We actually provided them the last piece of that statistical information the end of this last week. So hopefully sometime in the first or second meeting in April, hopefully we'll get a report from the auditors on those statements.
Anyone else? Councilor Miller.
Did you, on the community initiatives, there was discussion about putting them on quarterly payments?
Most of them are on quarterly payments already. There are a few that the smaller ones are on lump sum.
Lump sum?
Yes,
and
sir.
You wait for them to invoice you before you... Okay.
Yeah, they send a request for funds in, and then we enter that into the system just as we do any kind of invoice. Correct.
And that's different. We weren't on quarterly payments before. Is that the change, or?
No, we've for the larger ones we've been on quarterly payments. I think the mayor would like for us to move, especially on the the really large ones like the chamber and the library and people like that to move more to a monthly. So it's not such a huge amount, every quarter.
Yeah, and that was what
Kind
I
of
was sort of,
levels the expenditures out through the quarter.
that was going to be my next question. So you're moving towards monthly on some of the larger ones?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else on the council? Thank you, Mr. Mosley. Good report, and I'm especially encouraged with that reserve fund. We'll get into the reports from the council members. Councilor Strickland, do you have a report?
No, sir.
Councilor Wood?
No committee report, Mr. Chair, but a point of privilege, if you will allow me to go ahead and speak. Go ahead and speak again. This is the final week, as the mayor alluded to, North Island Park Community Fund Day. This event has been going on now for over 20 years in District 2. I want to invite all you councilors to come out. We'll have lunch around 12:30. Got something special for you all, as I always do. We try to do something every year to give back to the community. Once we feed everyone free food, chips, hot dogs, and Coats of the Meadow, and then we give the proceeds back. We've even given them to the Family Support Center, and you saw Ms. Frank speak about that tonight. This year we'll be giving again to Oasis of Hope, and I can't speak enough about Oasis of Hope if you haven't heard of them. They do a lot of good. They've given out thousands of backpacks to kids in this region. So if you can, be with us around 12:30 and 1 o'clock. We'll be making that presentation. We're still taking donations. We have a raffle every hour on the hour for senior citizens 55 and older. So if anyone would like to still donate monetary or some type of gift certificate, feel free to do so prior to this meeting or before Saturday. Thank you for your support. Mr. Chair, that's it.
Councilor Brown?
No, sir.
Councilor Miller?
No, sir.
Councilor Bowles?
No, sir.
Councilor Fink?
No, sir.
Since our last meeting, I've had the opportunity to address the Leadership Otago class for this year, as well as the Youth Leadership Otago class. And I can say that the participants in both classes are outstanding people. I was especially impressed with the young people and their vitality, and I would like to say and hope and pray that our community will be in great hands in the future if it's left to those young folks, and I'm sure it will. We will go into our agenda at this time. First item on our agenda is an ordinance to request pre-clearance of voting machine changes from the Department of Justice for the 2012 municipal election. Councilor Miller, will you introduce this ordinance, please?
Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Prattville, Alabama as follows. Whereas Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act requires any changes in the voting procedure, which includes voting machine changes, to be pre-cleared by the Department of Justice. And whereas the City of Prattville has elected to use the voting machines owned by the Otago County Commission in its municipal elections. And whereas on August 2nd, 2011, the Otago County Commission approved a motion for the purchase and implementation of the election system and software model 100 precinct scanners and AutoMart voter assist terminal, beginning with the March 13, 2012 election, pending pre-clearance from the Department of Justice. And whereas the Otago County Commission has obtained pre-clearance from the Department of Justice for this change in voting machines beginning with the March 13, 2012 election. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Prattville that the City Attorney is instructed to submit a request to have the election system and software model 100 precinct scanners and AutoMart voter assist terminal pre-cleared by the Department of Justice for use beginning with the August 28, 2012 municipal election. Mr. President, I so move.
Councilor Miller has moved this ordinance. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Bowles. By point of order, this will carry over to our next regular scheduled meeting unless there is a move to suspend the rules.
So moved.
Moved by Councilor Wood to suspend the rules. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Brown. Is there any discussion about the motion to suspend the rules? Councilor Miller.
Is this time sensitive? That we do need to suspend the, okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor of suspending the rules signify by raising your right hand, please. Any opposition by like sign? Seeing none, the rules are suspended and this ordinance is properly before us. Is there any other comments or questions about this proposed ordinance? All those in favor of adopting this ordinance signify by raising your right hand. Any opposition by like sign? Seeing none, the ordinance passes. Item number 2 is an ordinance to surplus one 1988 Ford 153 chassis F800 vehicle from Vehicle Maintenance Department. Councilor Brown, will you introduce this ordinance, please?
Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Prattville, Alabama as follows, that the vehicle listed below is hereby declared surplus of the Vehicle Maintenance Department and is to be removed from the inventory of said department. 1988 Ford 153 chassis F800, VIN 1FDPF82KXJVA 23165. Be it further ordained that the City Council instructs the mayor to sell said vehicle through govdeals.com and that proceeds be deposited into the general fund. So moved.
Councilor Brown has moved this ordinance. Is there a second? Second by Councilor Strickland. By point of order, this will carry over to our next regularly scheduled meeting unless there is a motion to suspend the rules.
So moved.
Moved by Councilor Wood. Is there a second? Second by Councilor Strickland. Any discussion on the motion to suspend the rules? All those in favor of suspensions of the rules signify by raising your right hand. Any opposition by like sign? Seeing none, the rules are suspended and this ordinance is properly before us. Any other questions or comments about this proposed ordinance? All those in favor of approving this ordinance signify by raising your right hand. Any opposition by like sign? Seeing none, this ordinance passes. Next item is an ordinance to surplus one 1995 Ford Styleside F-150 vehicle from the Wastewater Department. Councilor Bowes, will you introduce this ordinance, please?
Yes, sir. Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Prattville, Alabama as follows, that the vehicle listed below is hereby declared surplus of the Wastewater Department and is to be removed from the inventory of said department. 1995 Ford Styleside F1 well, I cannot speak tonight. F-150 VIN number 1FTEF 15N7SNA79476. Be it further ordained that the City Council instructs the mayor to sell said vehicle through govdeal.com and that the proceeds be deposited in the general fund. I so move.
Councilor Bowes has moved this ordinance. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Brown. Is there any discussion? Excuse me. By point of order, this ordinance will hold to our next regular scheduled meeting unless there's a move to suspend the rules. Is there a move?
So moved.
Moved by Councilor Brown. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Bowes. Is there any discussion on the motion to amend to suspend the rules? Seeing none, all those in favor of suspension of the rules signify by raising your right hand. Any opposition by like sign? Seeing none, the rules are suspended and this ordinance is properly before us. Is there any further discussion on this proposed ordinance? Councilor Strickland.
Now that we have wastewater as an enterprise fund, theoretically, in my mind, these assets belong to the wastewater department. And this document says the proceeds are going back to the general fund as opposed, excuse me, to the wastewater. I would like to get a clarification on that before we vote.
Okay, who would you like that clarification from?
The most knowledgeable one.
Turn your microphone on so we can get that on record.
The most knowledgeable one.
I guess that would be Mr. Mosley.
I was just trying to get a clarification because a lot of these, the way they put them on there, wherever department was on the title, that's what department they put in there, and sometimes vehicles get moved from department to department. But they said that this is a wastewater department vehicle, so yes, it would need to go into the wastewater enterprise fund.
Excuse me, then to be accurate, the ordinance should be amended.
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilor Strickland?
Yes, sir. I'd like to propose an amendment, please, to the ordinance.
Yes, sir.
Line 17 and 18, 17 and 19, delete general fund and insert wastewater department enterprise fund.
Okay, you've heard what the proposed amendment to this ordinance is. Is there a second? Second. Second by Councilor Bowes. Is there any discussion about the amendment to this ordinance? Seeing none, all those in favor of amending this ordinance signify by raising your right hand. Any opposition by like sign? Seeing none, the ordinance is properly amended and before us again. Is there any discussion on the amended ordinance? All those in favor of adopting the amended ordinance signify by raising your right hand. Any opposition by like sign? Seeing none, this ordinance is adopted. Item number 4 is an ordinance to surplus 1987 John Deere 410C backhoe from the Leisure Services Department. Councilor Strippin, will you introduce this ordinance, please?
Yes, sir. Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Prattville, Alabama as follows, that the equipment listed below is hereby declared surplus of the Leisure Services Department and is to be removed from the inventory of said department. 1987 John Deere 410C backhoe, vehicle identification number TO410CGA734077. Be it further ordained that the City Council instructs the mayor to sell said equipment through govdeals.com and that the proceeds be deposited into the general fund. So moved, Mr. President.
Councilor Strippin has moved this ordinance for adoption. Is there a second? Second. Second by Councilor Fink. By point of order, this ordinance will hold to our next meeting unless there is a motion to suspend the rules.
So moved.
Moved by Councilor Miller. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Fink. Any discussion on the motion to suspend? Seeing none, all those in favor of suspending the rules signify by raising your right hand. Any opposition by like sign? The rules are suspended and the ordinance is properly before us. Is there any further discussion on this proposed ordinance? All those in favor of adoption of this ordinance signify by raising your right hand. Any opposition by like sign? Seeing none, this ordinance is adopted.
Mr. Chair, point of privilege, I was just about to ask before we went to that.
Councilor Wood.
In lieu of the amendment that Councilman Strickland made concerning the wastewater department enterprise fund, I would like to suggest that any of the ordinances that come before us in the future of these items to be surplus, that they will be printed out before to those enterprise fund departments, sanitation and wastewater. That way we won't have to amend them.
You're making that in the form of a formal request for any future ordinances?
In the future ordinance, yes.
Yes, thank you. Next item is a resolution to amend 2012 budget line item executive department contingencies by $1,000 for the purchase of mayoral portraits. Councilor Fink, will you introduce this resolution, please?
Yes, sir. Whereas Resolution Book 1996, page 040, established the policy and procedure for the purchase and display of mayoral portraits And whereas the mayor of the city of Prattville maintains portraits of the former mayors for historical purposes, and whereas the portrait of the current and most recent former mayors are not displayed, and whereas the funds are not available in the FY 2012 budget to purchase these portraits, now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Prattville that the budget surplus is hereby decreased by $1,000 in the FY 2012 budget line item Executive Department Contingencies is hereby increased to $1,000. Be it further resolved by the City Council of the City of Prattville that funds in an amount not to exceed $1,000 for 2 mayoral portraits are hereby authorized and approved, and said funds are hereby approved and appropriated from the FY 2012 budget line item Executive Department Contingencies. Mr. President, I so move.
Councilor Fink has moved this resolution for adoption. Is there a second? Second by Councilor Striplin. Is there any discussion on this proposed resolution? I'm going to defer to legal counsel. Mr. McDowell, does this require a suspension of the rules since we're moving money around?
I do not believe so.
Okay, just wanted to make sure before we move forward. Thank you. Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of adoption of this resolution signify by raising your right hand. Any opposition by like sign? Seeing none, this resolution is adopted. Item number 6 is an ordinance to surplus one 1996 Dodge Dakota vehicle from the Vehicle Maintenance Department. Councilor Miller, will you introduce this ordinance, please?
Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Prattville, Alabama as follows, that the vehicle listed below is hereby declared surplus of the Vehicle Maintenance Department and is to be removed from the inventory of said department. 1996 Dodge Dakota, VIN number 1B7FL26Y6TS625831. Be it further ordained that the City Council instructs the mayor to sell said vehicle through govdeals.com and that proceeds be deposited into the general fund. Mr. President, I so move.
Councilor Miller has moved this ordinance for adoption. Is there a second? Second by Councilor Striplin. By point of order, this will carry over to our next regularly scheduled meeting unless there is a motion to suspend the rules.
Motion.
Moved by Councilor Bowes. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Brown. Is there any discussion about the motion to suspend the rules? All those in favor of suspending the rules signify by raising your right hand. Any opposition by like sign? Seeing none, the rules are suspended and the ordinance is properly before us. Is there any further discussion about this proposed ordinance? All those in favor of adopting this ordinance signify by raising your right hand. Any opposition by like sign? Seeing none, this ordinance is adopted. Next item is a resolution to set a public hearing to declare various wooded lots to be a public nuisance and ordering their abatement per Title 11, Chapter 67 of the Code of Alabama 1975 as amended. Councilor Wood, will you introduce this resolution, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Whereas an abundance of overgrown grass and weeds, 1, is injurious to the public health, safety, and general welfare by providing a breeding ground and shelter for rats, mice, snakes, and mosquitoes and other vermin. 2, may cause the further spread of weeds. 3, may hide debris such as glass or metal that could inflict injury on a person going to such property. And 4, may also pose a fire hazard and respiratory hazard. And whereas 11-67-1 of the Code of Alabama 1975 as amended permits the City Council of the City of Prattville to declare an abundance of overgrown grass and weeds to be a public nuisance. And whereas the Prattville Planning Department has inspected the properties at the following addresses and determined the existence of an abundance of overgrown grass and weeds: 227 Chestnut Street, 2579 Cobbs Ford Road, USA Travel Center, 1679 East Main Street, USA Travel Center, 2002 Highway 14 East, USA Travel Center, 101 Julia Court, 138 9th Street, 110 7th Street, vacant lot next to 307 Fisk, 496 Weatherby Trail, 317 West 6th Street, Now therefore be it resolved that 1, the City Council of the City of Prattville declares the abundance of overgrown grass and weeds at the above listed addresses to be a public nuisance, and 2, the owners of said property, as they appear in the records of the Autauga County or Elmo County Revenue Commissioners, are ordered to abate the abundance of overgrown grass and weeds, and 3, the owners of said property are ordered to appear before the City Council of the City of Prattville at a public hearing at 6 o'clock p.m. on April 17, 2012 in Prattville City Hall. Notice of such hearing and a copy of this resolution shall be sent by certified mail to owners of said property. Mr. Chair, I so move.
Councilor Wood has moved this resolution. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Striplin. Is there any discussion on this proposed resolution? Councilor Miller.
When did we remove the wingy downy weed? Lingo. Is this a new format?
3 months ago.
Has it been that long?
3 to 6 months ago.
I just now hit me that.
During
Thank
the
you.
winter we never had this year, we took it out. Any other discussion on this proposed resolution? All those in favor of adopting this resolution signify by raising your right hand. Any opposition by like sign? Seeing none, this resolution is adopted. That exhausts our regular agenda. At this time, the chair will entertain any items from the floor. Is there any of the councilors have anything to bring from the floor? Councilor Brown.
Mr. President, I have an item that I would like to bring forward at this time.
Pass these out.
Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Prattville as follows, that the real property described below is no longer needed for public or municipal purposes and is hereby declared surplus of the City of Prattville. Commence at the northwest corner of the northeast quarter of the southeast quarter of Section 15, T17 North, R16 East, Autauga County, Alabama. Thence leaving said corner north 89 degrees, 2 minutes, 11 seconds east, 917.57 feet to a point, said point being the northwestmost corner of the Silver Creek Plat Number 3, as recorded in the Office of the Judge of Probate, Autauga County, Alabama, map book 3 at page 289. Thence leaving said corner and along the west line of said plat, south 4 degrees, 52 minutes, 13 seconds west, 908.68 feet to a point lying along the south line of the amended map of Silver Creek Plat Number 2, as recorded in the Office of the Judge of Probate, Autauga County, Alabama, map book 3 at pages 275 and 275. Thence along the south line of said plat, south 75 degrees, 51 minutes, 59 seconds east, 403.11 feet to a point. Thence north 89 degrees, 8 minutes, 1 second east, 97.53 feet to a point. Thence leaving said south line of said plat, south 0 degrees, 45 minutes, 24 seconds east, 366.05 feet to a point. Said point lying along the north line of the Overlook Estates plat, as recorded in the Office of the Judge of Probate, Autauga County, Alabama, map book 2 at page 143. Thence along north line of said plat, north 89 degrees, 23 minutes, 53 seconds, west 278.93 feet to an iron pin book at page, to an iron pin, said point being the point of beginning for the following described parcel of land. Thence leaving said point of beginning, south 11 degrees, 49 minutes, 7 seconds west, 344.23 feet to a point. Thence north 44 degrees, 8 minutes, 51 seconds west, 260 feet to a point. Thence north 0 degrees, 36 minutes, 7 seconds east, 153 feet to a point. Thence south 89 degrees, 23 minutes, 53 seconds east, 250 feet to the point of beginning. Said described parcel of land lying in the southwest quarter of Section 15, T17 North, R16 East, Watauga County, Alabama, and containing 1.29 acres more or less. Be it further ordained by the City Council of the City of Prattville, Alabama, that the real property shall be conveyed to Ray Clark Bowles and Angie H. Bowles by quitclaim deed, and that the mayor and city clerk are directed to execute a quitclaim deed to Ray Clark Bowles and Angie H. Bowles. Be it further ordained that the mayor is hereby authorized, empowered, and instructed to execute any and all documents necessary to accomplish the purpose of this ordinance. So moved.
Councilor Bowes has moved this ordinance for adoption. Is there a second? What did I say? I'm sorry. Councilor Brown. I stand corrected. Apologize. Councilor Brown has moved this ordinance for adoption. Is there a second? Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Miller. I got that one right, didn't I? Okay. By point of order, this will hold to our next regularly scheduled meeting, and unless there's a motion to suspend the rules.
Mr. Chair, I suspend the rules so we can discuss this.
Councilor Wood has moved that we suspend the rules. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Brown. Any discussion on the motion to suspend the rules? All those in favor of suspending the rules signify by raising your right hand. Any opposition by like sign?
I want to make sure I'm clear. Voting on suspending the rules puts the ordinance before us, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, I am voting against suspending the rules.
Okay.
I apologize.
It only takes one nay vote to kill the suspension, and this ordinance will be on our next agenda during our next meeting on April the 3rd. Is there anything else to come from the floor? This time we will entertain comments from the public on any item of business that you would like to bring before the council at this time. Is there anyone here that would like to address the council on any item of business? Okay, we have been advised by our city attorney that we must now go into executive session to discuss a possible legal action and a personnel issue, with the exception of Captain Wadsworth, our city clerk, and our attorney. The other city staff were excused for the evening. We will adjourn at the end of the executive session, having exhausted the business. So we bid you all good night. We'll be back here Tuesday, April the 3rd, 2012 at 6 p.m. Since we didn't take a vote to go into executive session, there's no point in taking a vote to come out of executive session. So unless there's any other comments from the councilors, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn. Is there a motion to adjourn? Is there a second? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposition by like sign. We are adjourned.